Okay. Okay, I'm trying to make sure that the stream is still stable. It's been a very choppy start for whatever reasons. I'm going to start with the astrodoodle right now. It's a very severe astrodoodle. I'm just letting you know in advance. This is for Earth on the 23rd of December, 2020. And you know, if you've been here before, you'll see a lot of repeating patterns, but things do shift and change. Okay, I'm just going to fill it all out first. Actually, you know what? Let's have a look here. I'm going to play another little tune while I can do this. It might help. It would give me a little bit of calm. So we're just going to put it together. Actually, I'm just going to do it like this. Hang in. let's leave that like that. I'm going to go over here now, join you guys again. See if I can do this properly. Hey, Path. It looks like it's very quiet today. I don't see anybody here. Oh, maybe there are a few people. It takes a while for notifications to go out. Let me put in the date and everything. Thank you for being here. This represents Earth, and it is the 23rd of December of 2020, a monumental year in terms of astrology. So here we are, folks. I just want to check in, let you know I'm actually here. Give me a second. I might sneeze or something, who knows? I might end up sneezing. It's been very sneezy weather here lately. I don't know why. I do not have the bug. But the air is very strange sometimes, and you know, we all get affected. So I'm trying to get some proper vision here. So I'm going to tuck that to the side. Hey Dee, if you want to hang in for a little bit, these are usually pretty short shows on Wednesday. If we got time at the end, I'd be happy to do a reading for you, but it's probably better if you come on Sunday night. Or you can go directly over here. Let me show you. Let me see if I can find this. So this is for you, Dee. If you want to, you can actually get a private reading. They start at 35, go up to 70, and it's all totally private. I hold it on my Zoom Pro system. So that's one way to go. That's you know, just an idea for now. But let's get over here. Thank you for asking, by the way, Dee. So a lot of you probably know that we've gone through this big epic thing that they're calling the Great Conjunction. Okay, I know what they're talking about. That's this thing over here. Okay, this thing over here. Let me just do the chart for basically. Okay, so here we are. Earth, 23rd of December 2020. We are drawing to a close in 2020. As you know, I wrote that book about global restructuring for 2020, and you're probably feeling it happening all around you right now. It's been, for the type of restructuring that we're talking about, it requires devastation. And you can argue these things or discuss these things from various different angles. I have particular views and opinions that would label me to one side of the argument as opposed to the other side of the argument, and you'll probably figure that out soon. But what I've noticed over 2020 is that there's been a destruction, a deliberate destruction of all of these very important aspects of human life that we use as markers, or we use as points of stability that give us a sense of meaning and purpose and security and stability, joy, love, happiness, abundance. Basically a sensation or an impression or an illusion of a good life. Thanks, Dee, I see you. Okay. And all of that was shaken up. There are different degrees of opinion. There's on the extreme of one side, there's the hardcore, conspiracy theorists and the cute type people who question everything, and they always seem to notice that there is kind of a sinister agenda that's happening in the background. For example, excuse me, a lot of people believe that this so-called bug, this big bug from China, isn't just a random, occurrence because of over-farming and squalor on in markets and things like that. It's actually deliberately and planned, and so that leads to the what do you call it? It's a little phrase, they call it the plandemic or the scamdemic. So it's very similar to what they do with the philosophy of the arsonist and the fireman. The whole idea is that You create a problem, you watch for the reaction, and then you offer the solution. That's what they did in the early days with a lot of the computer virus protection programs. They would create viruses and devastate the internet, and then they would rebrand themselves in a different country under a different name and offer the solution in terms of virus protection packages and so on. So in other words, you create the problem and then you wait for people to react and then you provide the solution. It's not much different from it's sort of creepy. I wrote a screenplay about this many years ago. Of course, you can tell it never got funded. Didn't quite make it. But it was a story about the arsonist and the fireman. And I tried to do it in such a way that it looked totally benign and innocent. In other words, the arsonist was not even aware that they're an arsonist, and the fireman was not even aware that they're firemen. I actually used a different scenario. I based the story in, I think it was Arizona or New Mexico, where there was a lot of empty roads and empty desert landscape, very beautiful, and some big highways crisscrossing the states and so on. And these little tiny towns that might have had a few decades of a glory day, maybe with some gold mining or copper mining or something like that, and then they become ghost towns and just little relics. Sometimes they reconfigure themselves, but sometimes they just fizzle away. And I focused on the anti-hero of the story, and he was kind of like a local fellow who realized that he's living in kind of a town that's turning into a ghost town, and he got kind of depressed about this, and he thought, I really need to ramp up some business here. It's terrible what's happening to our town. We've got this huge highway going past us now, and there's a big ramp that comes off and feeds into our little town, and every now and again people come here and pick up some gasoline and some candy, coffee at the convenience store, and then they look at a couple of little signposts and then they drive on because everything that was used to be here is gone. And so this fellow, totally kind of benign, apparently harmless, apparently innocent, decided, you know what, I'm just going to go take care of business. And so in the dead of night, he goes up onto the highway, onto the off-ramp, with his old pickup truck loaded with, gallons, huge, big, tanks of old engine oil, because this guy used to run a garage in the town. Hello, Heather. Hello. Did I start an early today? Oh my God. Did I? I am sorry. What time is it? Oh, it's only 11:30. And I was panicking that I was running late. I'm so sorry. Hello, Patricia. Thanks for coming back. So anyway, let me go back to the story. I'm trying to illustrate what I feel is happening. And so here's a perfectly ordinary person who had a garage, an auto tune-up place in town, and everything's desolate. Nothing much is going on, and he's looking around, and he's got these big tanks of used engine oil from draining cars, and he's got an old tow truck sitting in the back doing nothing. There's a few people around town doing their little things, and it's all kind of sweet and cute and wholesome, but it's also kind of tragic. And so this fella decides, you know what, I got to take care of business. So like I said, he drives up to the highway in the dead of night with his truck, makes himself look as though he's in trouble, doing nothing in particular. Lights are out. And he very quietly and carefully dumps all this engine oil all over the steepest curve of the exit ramp for the highway. And then he thinks, that went pretty well. And then he takes cases and cases of sand and dirt and gravel and old cat litter and junk and garbage and newspapers, and then he scatters it all over the top of the oil, a huge oil slick covered in harmless looking materials. And then he goes around and drives back into town, and then he waits. And lo and behold, somebody tries to drive off the exit ramp. A huge trucker truck drives off the exit ramp, and it crashes because it skids on the oil. Hi, Patricia. Hello, Heather. It skids on the oil, and he realized, wow, this really works. This is a great plan. Create a problem, check out the reaction, and provide a solution. And so immediately, he heads out to the highway with his tow truck, and he realizes, well, I can't tow a huge, a full, over-the-road truck, but I can rescue the driver. So he rescues the driver, takes the driver back into town and says, oh man, you poor thing. Listen, come and hang out at our cafe. They'll give you some great food and we'll take care of you. There's a little hotel over there. You can stay the night there. I'll do a few tweaks on your truck, see if I can get it started. And so on and so on. And the whole thing starts to work really well. And every now and again he tops up the oil and covers it with more litter, and he starts to build a thriving business. So he's got a tow truck business, a car maintenance business, and the few people left in the town, they realize he's like sort of like a local hero, and nobody understands what he's doing or how he's doing it, but he does it anyway. So there's car crashes, truck crashes, tourists, businessmen, executives, hot rodders, criminals. They all crash and they all end up in town. Mr. Harrison. Oh, hey, old buddy. Glad to have you here. So anyway, I think that's kind of what we have going on at the moment. And it's not quite so innocent as the hero in my movie story, but it is very sinister and real, because once you understand the principles of the arsonist and the fireman and you realize you are the same person, it becomes an actual live business model. It works really well in certain situations, in certain businesses. It works well if you want to start a war, for example, or if you want to completely subvert or destroy the status quo of something, or like a corporation or a country or something. And so, we had like the Middle East wars where, oh my gosh, we have to go and fight these people over here. Well, we need an excuse. Let's go and bomb our own World Trade Center over here, and that will create outrage and fear, and then we have an excuse to go to war over here. And the same thing with Vietnam. They had to create a reason to go to war. And one of the things about America is we have this incredibly powerful military. I don't want to knock the military. I'm really glad we've got them. But once you have a standing army, a huge, highly capable, powerful standing army, and there's nothing to do, you've got all these bombs and trucks and guns and planes and ships and technology and drones, and you got to do something with it. So it's like you need a war. And you've probably noticed, if you've been alive long enough, war is very good business for the warmongers and sometimes for the bankers. It's a well-established business model. They really started doing it properly over here in the early stages of World War I and World War II, where the bankers, the banking cartel over there realized, this is fantastic. We will fund you, okay? If you want all this money to buy all your bullets and guns, we will lend you that money on the condition that if you lose the war, you can't pay us. So I'm just letting you know, we're going to fund the other folks over here. And if they lose the war, they can't pay us. So we have to do this deal with you. I'm terribly sorry. We're just bankers. We're just minding our own business. If we lend you $100 million dollar thingies or whatever, and you win, okay, then you owe us all the debts that you owe us, plus all the debts that the losers owed us too, okay? Deal? And the enemy number one says, sure, I'll do that. And then enemy number two says, sure, I'll do that. Okay, now the war games start. Kaboom. So there you go. And it's just a business model, okay? And it works really well if you're the bankers or if you're the governments in control. Anyway, that's, yeah, exactly. You fund both sides. It's a fun game. It's not so fun if you're on the losing side or if you're in the bloodbath of war and you don't understand the game and you are not a stakeholder in the game. It sucks. Anyway, that's the sort of theme that I wanted to get to today. I'm going to be, trying to connect a few dots here. So you probably noticed that there's a lot of people across the world who do not believe that this big bug thing from over here, CHINA, they don't think it's that genuine. Yeah, sure, it's a bug. I know people now who've got the bug, who had the bug and recovered from the bug. And there's strong evidence that the bug was generated in laboratories over here, and they shared, information. But ultimately, it was a tremendous advantage to these folks over here to plant the bug and then let it propagate across the world, which is exactly what it did early in January 2020, okay, the very beginning of this global restructuring. You plant the bomb, in other words, the arsonist does what they do, and then you wait for the reaction. Okay, we're ready. Now you provide the solution. One of the crypto teacher people that I like to follow, he has that phrase, problem, reaction, solution. It's a very similar way to describing the arsonist and the fireman. Some people also call it the Hegelian dialectic, which is a fancy word they talk about in philosophy. But it's basically, if you abuse these concepts, you can control and manipulate people in society. And it works really, really well. So at the moment, the way I see it right now, here we are, December 2020. We've reached a kind of culmination point where it's obvious across the world now that we have a massive problem. It isn't just in America. It isn't just China. It's everywhere. It is on a massive global scale. And something like this has never, ever happened before in human history. Never. We've had internet communications and things, but we've never had a true, genuine pandemic, which is a worldwide global. We've had massive epidemics like the Black Plague and bubonic plagues and locust plagues, and we've had SARS and different, we've had HIV, and we've had, what's that? Well, some of the other ones, they do go worldwide, but it doesn't happen to the extent that it happened with the bug from over here, where it was like a nuclear bomb. So this is, the way I see it, is that we're dealing with something that was probably planned for a very long time, especially over here, because they want to take over the world from the dominance of these folks over here. So, what do? It's just like my little movie script. It's just like the arsonist and the fireman. You create a problem, wait for a little while, and you provide the solution. So it's very interesting that the problem is created by the same people who are going to end up providing the solution. It's beautiful. It's a staggeringly effective business model. It's very similar to what the United States Federal Reserve does over here to its population in the United States. They've become extremely successful at propagating this world of debt. And it's worked very well. And we've made videos about that earlier, but it's reached a point where they really can't debase the dollar anymore. They're taking things to a new level now, and the folks over here and the folks over here are kind of married in a very sick relationship. They are each other's enemies. They are also each other's spouses. If you look at the astrology, you can see that they are deeply wedded in a very sick marriage. And the sickness of the marriage is starting to ooze out all over the planet. You could blame each side for whatever you want. There's a lot of shadowy, sad, tragic stories that are linked to America and American behavior, American governments, and the same thing over here in China. And also Russia and Eastern Europe, parts of Africa, parts of here in Venezuela and in Iran and some of the Middle East nations, where they have cultures of extreme totalitarianism, extreme abuse, and heavy levels of oppression and repression. That's very, very common. As far as I can tell, most of the planet Earth population lives in a state of oppression or repression, packaged as something that looks remotely civilized. They've done a fantastic job over here, some places over here. It works really well. And so we end up with this really bizarre situation where it isn't just a few conspiracy theorists over here, or intellectuals over here, or university professors over here, and where they're discussing things and super high powered, like a very elite, websites and news channels that discuss like these very advanced ways of human behavior. It's kind of beyond that. What's actually happened from my perspective is that we've seen this massive revelation. You got to reveal it to heal it. And the whole of humanity is evolving. And I see that 2020 was an incredibly high pressure year for evolution. You know, I talk about the eclipses as evolutionary gateways. In 2020, we had 6 eclipses in total. Usually you only get 4 per year, but we had 6. I like to think that there's 7 because last year on the 27th of, I think it was 27th of December, we had one of those climactic eclipses on the Cancer-Capricorn axis. I've talked about that last year. Before we started moving into the eclipses on the Gemini-Sagittarius axis. And I predicted very accurately in my book that there would be global financial catastrophic events. And that's exactly what happened. I didn't relate it to the bug. I just related it to what the astrology told me in a very clear, unambiguous way. We would have global financial implosions everywhere. And that's what happened. And it was triggered very conveniently by this bug. This bug was essentially a form of war. It's like dropping a nuclear bomb. The people get sick, and it creates fear and chaos and devastation in its wake, just as if they dropped a nuclear bomb from here to here. I remember very clearly when I got on an airplane over here, and everything was fine, and then 13 hours later I landed on the airplane over here, and it was a completely different world. I got off the airplane at Los Angeles, and everything was shut down. Cops, police, fire people everywhere, and the airport was empty. And the pilot just told us, hey, we've just checked in and landed. The whole of Los Angeles is on a lockdown, and they've got SWAT teams and security teams at the airport, so we could be here for a while. It was actually okay. We got through the airport within about 2 hours. But that was the beginning of when the shock wave actually hit. The way I see it, the bomb was dropped on the eclipses December 2019 and January 2020. That's when the bomb was dropped. Okay? And it went all over the world like a ripple effect. And it created everything that we've seen in the headlines for the rest of 2020. Shock, horror, pain, suffering, devastation. And so here we are today, fast forward. It's been 10 months now living under the impact of this bomb. So effectively, America, number one, is at war with China. China is effectively at war with the United States. China realized they can't go to war in the traditional way by shooting bullets and guns and slaughtering tens or hundreds of millions of people and dropping nuclear bombs, which is the only way they could actually do that. because they also realize, wow, if we drop nuclear bombs all over here and here, we're going to destroy the land that we need. Because ultimately, the reason China wants to go to war with pretty much everywhere else in the world, the reason they want complete global totalitarianism is because they need to feed their people. They've got 1.4 billion people over here, and their economy regarding agriculture and food supply and food chains are in a catastrophic condition right now. And that's not really the virus itself. It's simply a result of having 1.4 billion people living in this space over here, habitable about the size of the United States. So they've had massive crop losses up here, massive crop losses over here. They are desperate for food. They have huge problems with water, environment, and so on. And the one asset that they do have is super cheap labor. This is essentially a communist-controlled slave camp, and they've done a fantastic job of enslaving 1.4 billion people as slaves on a slave camp, basically the manufacturing center of the world for so many things. And it's worked very, very, very well. And they have amassed a lot of cash. They've also created a lot of debt. But now they have tentacles connected with everywhere on Earth. You can go anywhere on Earth, and you will find something made in China. Okay? Because that's how it is now. That's part of their plan. That's how they get resources through exports. But they've kind of reached a point of saturation. And now they're figuring, well, what do we do now? We are very powerful now. We are a manufacturing powerhouse. We have a few problems with environment and food. We got a lot of people. For example, one of the top engineers in one of the, what's it called, Winsong something, manufacturing plant that makes the iPhones that sell over here for $600 to $1,000, the actual workers, the top engineers, make about $500 a month. You could not live on that over here. And the average production line workers maybe make $60 to $120 a month. And they're lucky to have those jobs. That's how extreme the difference is in the economy. There are also plenty of very, very wealthy Chinese, mostly through the process of, just call it corruption. And they have enjoyed immensely entertaining activities like going all over the world and infiltrating governments, politicians, corporations to spread their agenda. And a lot of what they do here is based on theft. It's called a kleptocracy. Klepto, like kleptomaniac, thieving, stealing. Just like the way, Zark Zuckerberg and Perry Lage, basically have a fantastically beautiful, seductive business model. We provide you this social service, and it's free. We collect your information. We sell it for billions. Okay, it's a fantastic model. It works really well. That is a form of theft. Okay, we accept that. We accept the breach of privacy. We accept the theft in exchange for having all this social interaction. And they have similar agreements over here. So anyway, you end up with these very bizarre new ways that human beings behave and relate to each other. But I think what's the difference with 2020 is that the sickness that's associated with all of this is being exposed. You've got to reveal it to heal it. Up till now, most Americans have been willing to accept the perversions and the corruptions and the decay of what's happened in America with our Constitution, our Declaration of Independence, our human rights, and so on and so on. We are very, very close to being a communist state already. But you'd never know. Most of the population in China has already accepted the corruptions and the perversions because they don't have a choice. They don't have the constitution that we have. They don't have the rights to protect and defend themselves. They are helpless in the face of the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. And so they have no choice. So they're very envious of what we have. It kind of goes back and forth. The people who profit and benefit from communism love it. It's fantastic. It's totalitarianism. It's extreme hyper abuse. It's extreme exploitation. It's total command and control where you have no say in anything anymore. It's a complete obliteration of private property, private rights, the right to defend yourself, the right to freedom of speech, the right to remain silent, the rights to the rule of law, the rights to due process, the right to representation in court, the right to have representation in your taxes, the rights to have your leaders work for you, the people. We the people. That's what we have in this country. But right now, it's becoming very apparent, perhaps too little too late, that all of that has been compromised and lost and stolen. So we're now living over here with a population of about 330 million people, which is about 1/5 of what they have over here. And out of these 330 million or so people, there's a few million of them, which is really on a global scale, it's nothing. It's just like that. There's a few million people over here who are really pissed off with what's happening. They don't like it because they're starting to realize, or they've already realized, that this thing that we call the United States is broken. It's very broken. It's very, very damaged. It's at the point of being completely consumed by this massive cancerous tumor that essentially is run and operated from here, 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 and here, and here, and a couple of other places. These are basically totalitarian regimes. They thrive on being criminal. It's amazing how it works, actually. If you think about it, we have, in America, we have the FTA, the Firearms, Tobacco, and Alcohol Administration. Firearms, tobacco, and alcohol, okay? Incredibly important sources of tax revenue, okay? And they need a lot of regulation because they're in some ways very dangerous, but they're also highly profitable. You know, it's like the biochemistry industries, like big pharma, big agriculture, big technology. I don't know. Anyway, I guess the point I'm trying to get to is that, you know how I like to say, like, you got to reveal it to heal it? Because I look at all this from the perspective of healing. Humanity is evolving, adapting, and growing. We're being squeezed through these evolutionary gateways, most clearly marked in astrology through the eclipses. You can see these like calendar moments where everything went in a jolt upwards and upwards and upwards. And what these eclipses, these evolutionary gateways, are essentially forcing on us, on humanity, is an increasing awakening of who we are as a collective, not just the individuals anymore, a massive global collective. And it's starting to be described in actual language, in actual structures, politically, to embrace this new concept. But as with all new things that developed, like when they discovered Pluto, for example, 1930 or something, that was the discovery of the power of Pluto. The power of Pluto is very, very extreme. So you end up with nuclear power to provide electricity, for example, or nuclear power to create bombs and destroy, whole cities just like that, whole countries just like that. What do you do with that power? It's the same power. Are you going to use the power or are you going to abuse the power? And it's so tempting, it's irresistible to abuse the power. Every time somebody invents a new awesome thing, there's someone else who figures out, wow, I could use that for very sick, perverse methods and processes to take advantage for me. So let me go to my chart, for example, here. And so I'll put it in a context. Okay, so we had all sorts of different astrodoodles through the year, but we've got this one today right now. It's very extreme. We have this angle here. This is Neptune. This is Neptune in the sign of Pisces, in the 12th house of hidden enemies, sickness, perversion, betrayal, lies, deception, the ending of the end, rot, mold, mildew, death, the end of the end. Of course, Pisces is also associated with being very close to heaven, which is kind of what happens when you die. It's also associated with divine inspiration, like artists, and divine purity of love. When you tune into that Neptune energy, it's perfect, it's perfection, it's love in its purest sense. Now, the inverse is the absence of love in its sickest sense. And that is what is being expressed here, as you can see in the hard square. Okay, this red represents a piece of sacred geometry. It's called a square because it's a 90-degree angle. This angle here is about 90 degrees. And in astrology, that's usually felt as very, very stressful. So this thing is super, hyper stressful right now. It's been building up for months and months. It's going to be with us for a while. But I see this as the revelation, the exposure, the inevitability of all the rot, betrayal, lies, deception, perversions that humanity is indulging in with itself and with others. In order for perversions and exploitation and betrayal to happen, there has to be a predator and a prey. So the way I look at it, there is a small number of predators, I'll go to that list in a minute, who see the rest of the world as prey. Basically like, let me just jump to it over here. I'm going to have to bounce back and forth because I'm trying to basically correlate this with what I'm witnessing in the world right now. So this thing they've called the New World Order. It's a delicious, tantalizing, super idealistic interpretation of the loving, amazing side of this Piscean energy here, Neptune in Pisces. Very idealistic, very pure, with very, very wholesome, apparently wholesome intentions. And so if you look up, for example, those folks, let me see if I can find some examples here. If you take a list, I think I've got a list right here somewhere. Yes, if you look at this list over here, all of these folks over here, oops, damn it, I'm ripping my stuff. All of these folks are here. They're very, very interested in this beautiful, massive thing that in general, the easiest way to describe it is the New World Order. Some people call it the Great Reset, One World Agenda, the World Bank, the United Nations, the Bank of International Settlements, the U.S. federal government, and the U.S. Federal Reserve Bank. Okay, and all the other global reserve banks. Those are the central banks. China and the Communist Party of China. All communists, all of these entities over here in terms of communication, that instruments of propaganda, ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, Fox, these folks here, here and here especially, have a massive multi-billion-dollar investment in this new world order, the Great Reset. They've been building and creating their orgy of new world order. Okay. The other ways to look at it, the way I like to look at it, is how China right now today is kind of like the business model for all of this. China basically owns the Democratic Party here in the United States. We also know that the Democratic Party is very much vested situation here. And they call it a left-wing agenda. They call it communism. I think it's just people who have basically sold out their souls, their heart, their love center energy in order to access and tap into this deliciously attractive and appealing new world order where you kind of get to be on top of the world. And it kind of breaks my heart because this stuff makes sense for the people who own this stuff and operate this stuff. I see it as a massive metastatic cancerous tumor that has infected the whole of planet Earth. And they are very, very close to reaching completion of their agenda. But what's happening is we're meeting resistance, okay? We're starting to meet resistance. I mean, the resistance has already been happening, but it's becoming very kind of vivid right now, because the place where this storyline is playing out most vividly is in the terms of politics and finance. The way it's playing out most vividly is here in the United States with the American federal election. Okay? So, over here, for months now, we've been talking about this aspect. I see it as fraud, deception, betrayal, lies, deceit. And because it's such a harsh aspect, it's affecting the Gemini North Node, okay? Which is all about honest, direct, clear, simple communications. And this is all about the idealism which has been perverted into something very evil and toxic. So, you know, there's so many examples we could pull up, you know, like things like fake news, fake elections, and so on and so on. But if the fraud is big enough and it's done effectively enough, the masses, we the people, accept it and we believe the fraud. We continue to live under the umbrella of fraud. In fact, you actually start to make a choice. This is who I am. This is what I want. I want to live in a communist regime. I want to live under a globalist one world agenda. I want China to take over America because I can see how that works for me. And you start to give up the things that we hold very dear in America. I just showed that list. All those institutions are mostly global institutions that have a deeply vested financial interest, especially finance, to propagate their agenda. To yell, use the letters and point at your paper. Do not say the whole blank. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not really a qualified teacher or anything, but use the letters and point at your paper. Oh, okay. I guess what I'm trying to get to, well, I'm trying to, I guess, protect myself, defend myself. I feel lucky that I have these perspectives. Not everybody believes in the stuff that I believe in. Some people think that, you know, I'm partly insane. I don't. I think of this as very helpful. Sorry, Path. Anyway, this is happening right now today. And from my perspective, on a global scale, even though we've got the in the Northern Hemisphere, we have this Christmas holiday season coming along. This thing is still extremely active right now, and it just happens to be related to the American presidential elections. So the way I look at it, the United States is kind of reaching a pivotal point where we, the people who subscribed to this thing here, hold on, give me a second, I'm trying to be organized. This is what my little book was about. I wrote this years and years and years ago, all about the global restructuring that we're having in January 2020 and beyond. And this is what is being sacrificed. This is what is at stake. This is what we are at the risk of losing. If we in America lose this, in other words, I'm just going to say it outright. If the president that we have in office today fails to hold office from next year, then this thing is gone. This thing that we have and we fought for so dearly hundreds of years ago is gone. It's being perverted, destroyed, contaminated, infected to the point where this thing becomes almost worthless. Okay? So this is very scary to me because I love this thing. I'm not educated too much on this, but I was born into a state of privilege, I think, because of this. Okay? There is no other country on earth that has it. No other country on earth has this thing that we have. There are people over here who try to mimic and model it. Over here, over here, over here. Some places over here, a few places over here. But nowhere else has it. The other things that we do have here that give us certain privileges is that we have the right to defend and protect ourselves. We also have it written in our Constitution that we have the right to take down our own government if our own government betrays us. And right now, this is where we are, because our government is split up into factions which are deliberately designed to force separation of powers, so that you don't have all the power concentrated in a monarchy or a communist totalitarian regime. You have the judicial system, you have the Senate, the Congress system, and you have the presidential executive branch, and they all operate in different ways that force the leadership to try and find solutions by argument and through law and through the rule of law so that it works for we the people. All of that is now at risk of being lost because it's much, much easier to play dirty. It's much easier to cheat and to steal, which is what's happened in the United States. This also represents theft, like intellectual property theft and so on. And all across the United States, a handful of people, maybe a few thousand people in positions of power and control have taken the dirty money and they have betrayed their country. Our country, the United States of America, as we know it today, has been perverted and betrayed by a small number of people in very high positions of power because they can see the advantage to themselves as corporations, as individuals, of belonging to this thing here, the New World Order. Okay, some people are calling it like the New World of Transhumanism. That's a very Aquarian theme, humanism. In other words, we're all going to be chipped, we're all going to be barcoded, and all the central banks and the central governments will have complete control over our behavior. Once, for example, once you decide to accept like a virus ID, COVID ID, COVID, what's a coronavirus identification number, and once you get tagged, I mean, that's their whole, I talked earlier about the arsonist and the fireman. Their whole agenda is to create a problem, which is basically the virus, watch how everybody reacts and figure out how are we going to create the solution. Well, they're going to create the solution by basically imposing communism, totalitarianism across the whole world through what looks like capitalism or democracy. And it's all a massive fraud because what they really want is to perpetuate a massive degree. They want absolute control, absolute power on all the money. And they want to take it from Earth, we the people, everybody on Earth. Pretty much everywhere here has been compromised. And the United States, especially the American president we have today, is the last bastion remaining between global communism and what I see as personal privacy, private property, the rule of law, all the things embedded in here. Okay? So to me, it's a little bit scary. We're at that point of critical mass. This thing is so seductive, it's so powerful, that it has literally contaminated the whole of planet Earth, and they've done it so effectively that most of planet Earth does not know that it's become infected. You know, for example, China has troops. We already talked about this. China has troops all across the border here and here. They have ships over here, ships over here. We know that already. China has their Belt and Road Initiative all over Africa, South America, Central America, Eastern Europe, Central Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Southeast Asia, Indonesia. It's everywhere. And their whole idea is to perpetuate, propagate the New World Order. In Western Europe, it's much more cleverly packaged through... I'll see if I can do this without messing everything up. It's packaged in a way that would appeal to, westernized economies, westernized governments and corporations in what we call democracies. But it's still the same thing. It's the New World Order. It's the One World Agenda. It's essentially a massive communist CCP regime all across the world, okay? They're doing it, and it is working. So it's basically like a human being walking around, smiling, happy, 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 living your life, living as a debt cow on a debt farm or a debt slave on a slave camp. So long as you don't know, if you're born and raised in that world, then you don't know that you're infected with this massive metastatic cancerous tumor that they're calling like a New World Order utopia. In fact, it's the death of the individual. It's the death of your human rights. And everything gets sucked up and funneled into these entities all here, which are all aligned with here. Okay? It's beautiful. It's staggering. It's the most staggering, massive fraud ever perpetuated on humanity. And most of the people, you're either not aware of it or you're happy to take the medicine. You're happy to have this. They've done such a good job. I particularly don't like it. This terrifies me. It's absolutely terrifying to me. But if you're one of these folks in the International Monetary Fund, World Economic Forum, the World Bank, have you ever heard of that guy Klaus Schwab? He's the boss of the World Economic Forum. He's done an incredibly good job of making this idealistic utopian plan for the rest of the world. And it would be dressed up in a very Aquarian type of thing. So let's have a look. Let me go back to my chart for today. Over here. Hello, Mr. Ross. So, I'm just going to do a recap of the last, 12 years or so. Over here, in 2008, Pluto entered Capricorn. We had the massive corporate implosion in the United States with Wall Street and the banks. And under the Obama regime, it was quickly patched up so that they could just carry on with their fraud. Okay? The fraud originated in 1913 with the United States Federal Reserve. We've talked about that already. And it's still very, very active today. It's more powerful than ever before. Even though the dollar is crashing, even though our US dollar is crashing, and crashing, it's part of the plan. They're going to destroy the dollar so that they can impose a new world order with a new globalized currency. So there's a lot of friction and instability and chaos happening in the world of global finance, where the world of fake money is coming face to face with the world of honest money. And they're using very similar mechanisms to function. And the world of fake money wants to hijack the mechanisms of the world of honest money. okay, so that they can perpetuate their agenda in a way that the masses are not aware. And the world of honest money needs to integrate with all the infrastructure that already exists with the world of fake money in order for their truth to, let's say, grow and prosper. So you have these two sides of the same thing. And from one perspective, like cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, XRP, Tether, and whatever it is, and Stellar, and all of these, and the whole world of DeFi, that's the enemy. The honest money is the enemy of fake money. Fake money is the enemy of honest money. But they're starting to exist simultaneously, or they're happening. They're being exposed on a global scale. So, back to here, over the next 10 years or so, the Federal Reserve realized, wow, we just got given permission by the federal government to just print money to infinity at our convenience. So that's what they've done. And so we've now got to this grossly overprinted world where we do this because we can. And it gives us tremendous privileges, advantages, and power on the global financial world of real estate and corporations and business and the control of the world economy. But we've taken it so far, and places like China are sick of it. So they are trying to contest all this. They're trying to shut us down. Anyway, here we are with Pluto at around 22, 23, 24 degrees 2020, where it's like the end game now for the Federal Reserve in America. This thing is imploding, but they have figured out a new way that they can keep their model going. What they want to do now, if you think of Pluto as absolute control and power, Pluto in Capricorn, it's still there. It's going to be there for another 3, almost 4 years. So the problems that we're having today, we haven't even started solving them. Pluto is here. We're going to build up over the next few years to a massive crescendo where we're going to get the Pluto return. Okay? It's a 250-year cycle. And that, I believe, is the astrological point in terms of what we call time, where we're going to see a point of critical mass with global economics, global politics. We're building up to it now. It's kind of chaotic and it's full of mayhem because you've got this, what we see as this agenda between we the people like myself. I would like to have honest money where I can increase and grow, what assets I have, rather than having everything degraded and debased year after year by the Federal Reserve. With Pluto in Capricorn and Jupiter and Saturn in Capricorn for the last year, it's been a pressure, the energy of intense oppression. The reality check police is what I call them. They can either behave very abusively or they can expose the truth. So what they're doing is exposing the truth right now. So the other day, well, it's still happening, we're having this thing that people are calling the Great Conjunction. Personally, I saw the Great Conjunction as the whole of 2020. But this one you can actually see in the heavens. Last night and the night before, and even tonight and the last few nights, you could actually see in the heavens Saturn and Jupiter this close to each other. It's mind-boggling. I'm going to show you. Well, I'm not going to show you, but it was mind-boggling because over here in sunny Las Vegas, you could look out. It was a clear sky, and you could see Jupiter and Saturn this close to each other. Okay? To me, that's significant. Other people might go like, oh, wow, that's cool. Looks pretty. Thank you. But anyway, it's very much to do with the massive shifts that are happening now in global politics. Okay? And we're going to see that because it's, as of today, let me go back to the chart again. So as of today, we now have Jupiter and Saturn in the 0 degree mark of Aquarius. So I don't know about you, but I've been feeling very I would say shaky, very concerned, because this is a big shift of energy. I'm feeling it in my physical body. For me personally, the way my charts, everybody's built differently. This is what's happening now out there. This is what I call the weather. This is affecting you some way, somehow. So we have these points of critical mass. This is a very significant point of critical mass right now. This and this. The sun just moved into Sagittarius, conjoined Mercury in Sagittarius. Sweet, harmonious by degree with Uranus, but the angle, just because of the angles, but by sign it's not very harmonious. But so this is a big shift. We got the Sagittarius energy now moved into Capricorn. So in a matter of weeks, we're going to have Sun and Mercury and Pluto conjunct Capricorn. So that's going to be another action replay over the holidays about heavy-handed, repressive government global oppression. Okay? Essentially from here to there. Okay? And we have many people in the United States at high levels of government who have already sold out America to China. So they're playing this game right now. And while everyone in America is distracted with the holidays, this agenda is being pressed very, very heavily, and it's going to increase in pressure to the point where we get into 2021, people are going to come out of the holiday season with a massive hangover, and they're going to look at the world around them. They're going to realize, wait a minute, what just happened? So it kind of depends on who ends up back in office over here next year. So over the next few weeks, over the next few months, I'm just letting you know, we have huge amounts of volatility in the Aquarius theme, humanity. What's good for humanity, not what's good for the elites and the corporations and the New World Order, the globalists, the transhumanists. They want to take over and control the whole planet through digital IDs, vaccine IDs, and so on. So that agenda is extremely different from what is good for we the people. The Aquarius energy is representing the energy of the people, the common person. So these are very, very conflicting energies right now. Basically, it's the honest money versus fake money. Honest governance versus fake totalitarian evil communism. It's happening simultaneously. So when you've got these energies here, it's like Jupiter is all about expansion, Saturn's all about contraction. You might feel as though, they're working against each other. Every time we have an amazing new development in what could be tremendously awesome for humanity, it flips into the perverted version of the same thing. In other words, it's very obvious in the world of cryptocurrencies right now, where there's a certain currency that it's living in the hybrid world between fake money and honest money. And this particular currency is almost like a miracle cure. This particular currency allows the world of fake money to continue and prosper and go completely global and digital at an extremely hyper-efficient and effective way that works extremely well for the New World Order, the globalists, the transhumanists, the banks, and all the traders. But that same tool, that same mechanism, can also be used for the benefit of humanity. For example, there are, about almost 2 billion people on planet Earth who are too poor to have money in bank accounts and things like that. And so they survive on barter and they survive on remittances. Like, for example, in Mexico, it's one of the highest levels of remittance countries in the world. Billions of dollars get sent from America to Mexicans in the form of remittances. Those remittances are very expensive transactions. And with this new world of cryptocurrencies, there are tools that allow the transactions to happen instantaneously, for like super ultra dirt cheap. Now, that is a miracle, okay? That is a miracle for humanity and the people who have nothing. The problem is, it's a disaster for the banks and the banking systems who want to control it all. I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm making myself clear. It's the same as I was trying to describe earlier. It's just a tool, okay? I'm talking about these currencies that are starting to go global. They're very big. We're still in the early days right now, but it is inevitable. It's going to happen. We're going to have a digitized, global, financialized economy, and that's where the most effective forms of warfare can occur. Currency wars. I wrote about it in my little book. I wrote about how the new world, like World War III, is already happening. It's happening right now, but you're probably not aware of it. It's in the form of a currency war between the United States and all the so-called democratic economies and the totalitarian currencies that are operated and managed over here. It's an extremely effective form of warfare, and it's happening live right now. So what you have is this tool. There's this one particular tool. Just imagine it's kind of like I don't know, like a, let me see, like a, I don't know, a pair of scissors, okay? Just to think of it, just the concept. This is a tool, okay? Like a hammer or a drill or a computer program or a car or a washing machine. It's a tool, okay? Now, if you want to, you can put, laundry in, or you can stuff, let me think of an example. Okay, you could use this to stab somebody, or you could use it to do macrame cutouts or origami art or something. It's the same tool. You can do something beautiful, you can do something evil. It's the same tool. It's a question of, what are you going to do about it? So that's what's happening right now. We have these incredibly powerful tools, especially in the world of cryptocurrencies, which are allowing the possibility for tremendous evil to be propagated worldwide at the flip of a switch, and also for tremendous good to be propagated worldwide at the flip of a switch. Your phone, your smartphone, your computer, your laptop. Because everything's being connected. I don't know if you're aware, but there are thousands of little micro satellites that are now being shot into outer space, through like Tesla and SpaceX and Amazon and Microsoft and China. They're all doing it. Europe, they're all sending, and the military, they're all planet Earth is smothered in baby satellites. And it allows a new form of warfare. And it's going to be exploited for good. It's going to be exploited for evil. They're both going to happen simultaneously. So what's happening is humanity is waking up to its own nature. My God. It's like basically looking in the mirror, right? Like, I am as evil as I am good. How does that work? Everybody has that inside of them somewhere. For example, I'm a carnivore. I eat meat. I don't actually go out and kill the meat every day and butcher it and slaughter it, but I eat it. And for that to happen, some animal has to go through a very tragic life experience, okay? I'm a human being. And so you multiply that up on a massive scale. Factory farming. For example, here's another story. China is desperate for protein. The protein that they like most is chicken, but mostly pigs, pork. And they can't produce enough pork to feed their people. So they buy pork from all over the world. And they do these very perverse, shady deals with, like for example, in Denmark. China did these amazing deals with landowners. Sign over your land. We will lend you the money. We'll build out these massive pig farms. You sell the pork to us. We will make sure that you are rich and nobody in your country can stop you because we've got connections. So that's what happened. So within a matter of few years, just a couple of years, Denmark is smothered in pig farms, and they sell all their pork to China. And everybody who lives near the pig farms in Denmark, they can't, their houses are worthless. Their lives have been destroyed. And they were never informed about any of this was going to happen. But the owners of the pig farms are now sitting fat and happy, living somewhere far away from their pig farms. So just imagine that same business model all over the world. That's what's happening. And it's not just with pork and pigs. It's with corn, soy, water, wheat, fruits, vegetables, all of it. Argentina is heavily compromised, okay? They're trying to take the whole of Argentina and Chile and turn it into a massive grain supply that feeds pork farms over here. I mean, it's just mind-boggling what they're doing and how they're doing it. They're doing it because they can, partly and partly because they have to. It's very strange, okay? Oh, Pat said, well, why can't the evil and criminals ever use their knowledge for good? I know, it's a good question, you know. What was that guy, Marx or Stalin or somebody? He said, what's the point in trying to build a company or control a country or take over a country by working with honest, decent people? Give me a handful of the top criminals in my country and I will take over everything. That's all I need. Just introduce me to the best criminals in the world and I will take over. I'll make it look all pretty and nice, but it's basically fraud, theft, abuse, totalitarianism, communism, okay? So, let me keep going. I'm going to go back to my little doodle. I'm trying to connect the dots here. So, this is all about the fraud. And most of the fraud is now exposed in the United States as a fraudulent election. Depending on what side you think, how you view the world, I view the fraud as a fraud against the American people. And I believe that the president we have today had by far the greatest number of votes to the other guy. And yet we are being told by, let me go back, I'm trying to connect everything here, hold on, so you can see what I mean. We are being told by these people that we have a new president, okay? But there are people who do not believe this, because all of this stuff is basically just a massive propaganda machine for these guys, and these guys, these guys, and these guys, and these guys, and these guys. It's all, just follow the money, honey. Just follow the money. That's all you got to do. And, sorry. And then you start to see, oh my God, I got played. I've been played for centuries, for decades. Well, it's all coming to the surface now. It's funny because America is kind of the laughing stock across the whole of planet Earth, because you can't get, in America, you can't hardly find genuine, honest news. There are a few news sources, but they're heavily repressed. And so I look outside of the United States for the information that I need. So you've probably figured out, I'm the sort of person, I'm in favor of keeping this. The problem is that there's only a tiny number of people in America who understand what's happening and the ability to protect and defend this. Since most people in America have been either asleep, they're not aware of this. The fraud is so effective, they don't know that they've been defrauded and deluded. But it's happening. So 2021 is going to be very, very unstable. You've got these two energies here, both in Aquarius, Saturn and Jupiter facing off with each other. Jupiter wants truth, honesty, expansion of all the good stuff that works for we the people. Saturn wants exactly the same thing, but done in a way that's methodical and you learn through tough lessons, and then you are rewarded after Saturn leaves Aquarius in about 2.5 years. Now flip it around. Jupiter could also misbehave and go to a level of extreme excess of what is not good for we the people. Saturn could also behave in a less than appealing way where it becomes very oppressive and controlling, and there's a lot of regret for misbehavior in the world of finances and politics. So for example, over 2021, I think we're going to see an expansion of the globalists, the transhumanists, to try and push their agenda, their massive tumorous totalitarian regime, as far and as hard as they can. And they're going to package it to make it look like it's great for humanity. In other words, in America, for example, they're going to try and maybe do another stimulus. Or they're going to have universal basic income. Like, wow, everybody gets money for free. Woohoo! But that's actually a debt trap. It's a slave camp. It's basically like having a noose around your neck, because the money that they give you, it's programmable digital money. Okay? So if you misbehave, they choke you. Oh, you can't buy that kind of food. No, you can't go to that country. No, you can't attend that event. You can't behave that way and do this and do that with your time and your money. You will be penalized. Your money will be shrunken or blocked. That's a problem. However, if you behave like they do in China, because they've already got this going in China. They've already got the CBDC, central bank digital currency, being practiced now in China, also in Italy, and also Estonia. And the whole idea is to have complete, utter command and control of every transaction of every person in China through the central government. Does that sound like a problem to you? It sounds like a very big problem to me. Well, that's what they want to try to do over here. But I'm not very keen on the idea. They're trying to do it here. Here, 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 here. Everywhere that you have a major central bank, they're all going to try and get some kind of CBDC, central bank digital currency, that links directly back to their central bank, like we have the Federal Reserve. And that's an incredibly effective way to impose control and power through money throughout the whole of the population of planet Earth. Transhumanism, humans basically being born, implanted with chips, genetically modified humans, and we end up as debt cows and debt slaves on debt farms and slave camps. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. These are the elites, maybe a few 100,000 people at the most, and here's the rest of planet Earth, at least 7 billion people. They are farming us. Do you understand what I'm getting at here? These folks, the New World Order, they are trying to farm us. They're trying to farm you, just like they farm pigs, cows, chickens, sheep, turkeys, and fish. They are carnivores of the highest order. They are at the very, very top of the food chain, and they feed on you through money. Okay? They extract money. You work, and the debt trap, that's another whole other video. But anyway. And so that's kind of where things are going. Let me make some notes here, okay? Financial controls. Once you have the CBDCs, okay, which are going to happen, CBDCs, once you have the central bank digital currencies, you're going to discover that finance and banking is a primary way to control the population, just like they do in China, okay? And so you're going to have these two opposing energies. We're going to have the miracles of digital currency, like I explained before, but it's also the nightmare of digital currencies. They are both happening simultaneously. It is a war. It's a war between humanity's, let's say, honest, loving, caring, humanitarian version of itself versus humanity in the total absence of love, which is these folks here, these folks here. These folks, by the way, they're extremely good in packaging themselves as like the thing that I look for most of all is this: vote for me and I will save you. That's how they do it. Vote for me and I will save you. And then they present this amazing package about how they're going to do it. It works really well. So the thing about these digital currencies, it makes the possibility of warfare on a global scale much more possible and much more appealing. So we're going to start seeing currency wars, especially between China and America. And in order to keep this stuff going, we're going to have that stuff we talked about earlier, the arsonist and the fireman. They're going to keep instilling fear in humanity. Right now they're using bugs and viruses, but it could be financial warfare. Either way, it's a form of terrorism, which is designed to terrorize you, terrify you into submission so that they can control you. In other words, vote for me, I will save you. They're not going to tell you that by creating the terror and demonizing your world and your life, I'm not going to tell you that we're the same people who are going to come and save you. In other words, the central bank digital money. They're presenting it as this miracle cure. We are here to save you. In fact, it's a way to farm you, okay? So that's why I kept going on about the arsonist and the fireman. There is a world of cryptocurrencies out there. One of them is identified as XRP. It's a tool, like I described earlier. This is kind of a tool. This is a tool. And it's a very odd thing because it's incredibly capable at what it does. And so that takes you back to where we were here. It's fantastic in order as a tool for the miracle of digital currencies. But if that tool is abused and it can be reassigned as a nightmare of digital control through currencies, that's a problem. So there are some people who are trying to kill it right now. This tool, especially some of the other cryptocurrencies, but this one in particular, is the friend of honest money. That's a problem for all the fake money, the enemy of the fake money. We've talked about this before. So how do we control this? So let me put this over here. How do we control this? This is so powerful. This world of cryptocurrency money, stuff that we're talking about here, is going to be going mainstream. Cryptocurrencies, digital money is going to go mainstream. It's like a massive new kind of invention. Welcome the Aquarian theme here. Advances in science and technology. It's going to go mainstream for better and for worse. Both sides of the wonders of that tool are going to be exposed. There are going to be people who want to use it for evil. There are going to be people who want to use it for love. The people, the globalists, the New World Order, the transhumanists, the communists, and the surveillance state, and including the democracy of the United States are all compromised. They all want to exploit the world of cryptos for evil purposes, okay? For this. They want it all for themselves. They want to farm you. This very same tool is a blessed miracle for the world of honest money, freedom, free market economy, free market capitalism, and human rights. It's a freaking miracle. It's happening right now. These These people, where are they? These people, the globalists. Okay, wait, look at it. These people would like to use these amazing new technologies for evil. We the people, I like to think of myself, I'm one of these. I want to use it so that I can protect myself, protect my rights, my freedom, my honesty, my value, my values from the evil agenda of these people. I like to boil things down into yes, no, in, out, black and white. And you pick a side. The reality is it's happening simultaneously. The world, this energy is just what it is. The question is, what are we going to do with that? It's going to explode. It's going to go mainstream. It's going to cause a lot of chaos and upheaval, especially in the world of global finances, because in a few months, you're going to start to see a lot of red lines between Uranus in Taurus and Jupiter in Aquarius, and then Saturn in Aquarius. It's not on this chart, but it's going to appear in 2021. There's going to be a massive red line here on my astrodoodles, and that's going to be intense conflict between the wonders and miracles of the new technology that can really, really provide freedom, liberty, justice, honesty in an open, decentralized manner for the whole of humanity. That is happening right now. The tools are there for that to happen right now. But the problem is, that is a problem for these folks, because these folks want exactly the opposite. So they're going to do everything they can to try and pervert the use of these incredible new tools that are happening. Hello, Diana. Hello, Ivona. It is literally a dark versus light war that we are facing coming into 2021. I'm going to put the number here, 2021. It started right now. You're not going to notice it until we actually get into 2021, especially when we get into the Aquarius season early on, and then we get into the Leo season later in the year. It's going to become extremely volatile. So I recommend you prepare yourselves, your loved ones. Find people that you love and that you trust. Find places, ways of life, ways of being, ways of protecting your privacy. Protect yourself, your loved ones, your resources. That means your money, your privacy, all of that, your health. It's very, very important right now. Hello, Melissa Mastaya. So I'm kind of giving you a heads up. We've already lived through 2020. It was a barbaric, terrifying year for everybody who was not a part of these folks. If you were a part of these folks over here and the other list I showed you, then it's been a miracle year because the fraud is working extremely well for those folks, okay? It's kind of like when you run a multi-level marketing business. You know, there's pros and cons about multi-level marketing businesses. For a lot of people, they don't work. It looks like it's going to be a miracle. Pretend I'm one of those people. I'm trying to sell you like marketing. Hey, you want to live rich? You want to live the good life? You want to drive a Maserati? You want to live in the kind of house that I have? You need to sign up now. And I will teach you how to get there. Not next year, not in the next decade, now. Follow me, vote for me, and I will save you, and I will coach you on exactly how to do what you have to do. That's kind of what it's going to be like. And there are some people like myself, I don't buy it. I really don't buy it. I've made a lot of decisions in my life that appear to be very self-destructive. I've been exposed to massive money. I've been offered massive money. I've been, let's say, in the vortex of massive money and opportunity. But when you start to dig into the paperwork and the agreements and the conditions that come with it. In my case, they were very perverse, criminal, very, very sick. And so I had to walk away and say no. And I still live with that today because I keep thinking like, wow, why couldn't we have done an honest version of that? And I could still be me, and I could live the honest version of me and have what you call physical material abundance. But anyway, many years later, I'm still here alive. I have fresh water, hot water, cold water on tap. I have access to 2 refrigerators and 2 freezers. I have my friends that I can use to protect myself. I have shelter. I have a roof. I have transportation. I have communications. I'm warm. I'm happy. And I surround myself with people that I love and who are on the same wavelength as myself. It may be just a tiny crowd, but I know where I stand because I know that I do not belong to that other evil agenda. I'm just not there. I don't buy it. I don't believe in it. I'm sorry. So it makes it very awkward. Let me go back over here. Hold on. Melissa doesn't know what to do or who to trust. Melissa, I will share with you that I'm one of these people. I tend to feel the energy of the shifting planets as they go through, especially the moon. So for example, right now, the moon is right there in Aries. Is it conjunct there? Let me just double check on the moon. Stay right there. Hold on a second. I want to double check something. Melissa, I have to be very careful, especially with lunar transits. Yeah, the moon is conjunct with Mars right now. So, I have to be very careful. That happens to be a challenging energy for me. I should have put that here. The moon is right here too. The moon moves very quickly through the heavens. It takes 28 days to go from here to here. Pluto takes 250 years to go from here to here. Saturn takes almost 30 years to go from here to here. Jupiter takes 12 years to go from here to here, and so on and so on. I track the moon because it affects my moods and feelings very, very closely. I'm very sensitive like that. I don't have a lot of earth in my chart. I'm very heavy water dominant, so I feel things sort of like an empath or whatever you want to call it. So it comes naturally to me. So I have to be very careful, but I was noticing the energies here of the shift into Aquarius, and I felt very much exactly what you wrote there, Melissa. I don't know what to do or who to trust. In the end, you have to come back to the self. Love thyself. You can talk with people. You can try to tune in with people who feel like, ask questions or whatever. But ultimately, you have to live with yourself. Some points you have to realize, I have to learn how to be very comfortable with being very uncomfortable. This particular aspect hits me very strongly. I'm very, very acutely aware of it. In my personal life, I see that it's very much to do with money, but I also see it on a global scale that it's very much to do with, the technology of money, okay? So it's going to happen. And when you have Jupiter and Saturn, their energies are almost diametrically opposed to each other. Saturn wants to contract and restrict and restrain and teach through order, through tough lessons if necessary, through time and patience and application of skills and knowledge in a way that works. Jupiter is just completely different. It's just like, let's freaking go for it. I can figure this out. I know I'm going to be okay. Everything's going to be wonderful all the time. And then you can end up having like a crash and burn and then, huge swings. For example, in the global financial markets, it's very possible to experience massive volatility, massive swings as the financial markets zoom up and down. One minute, everyone's going to see the wonders of this miracle money, and the next minute, they're going to try and destroy the wonders of this miracle money. because there's a war going on, people. There is a massive, massive, invisible war going on between the globalists, the New World Order, the elites, the communists, and the rest of the world. The only remaining bulwark against the New World Order is basically the United States. But sadly, it's only one part of the United States, because there's a vast bulk of the United States, especially if you live around here on the West Coast and the East Coast. A lot of those cities and communities and states have sold out to China already, okay? It's going to be very hard to undo that. And there are a few million people in America who refuse to sell out to China. So America is facing a very, very disturbing, dystopian future right now. Let me mark out something here for you that might interest you, because the Aquarius theme is not a coincidence. Look at this. China is born with Aquarius rising, the moon in Aquarius right on the horizon. Is that a coincidence? Look at the United States. The United States is born with the moon in Aquarius, just like China. And the South Node is here. Is that a coincidence? The North Node is in Leo. The North Node in Leo for the United States indicates that the United States, as we know it today, has a destiny and obligation to itself and to humanity to lead with kindness, generosity, courage, abundance in a way that works for the people. You cannot tap into the gold mine of the South Node without activating the North Node energy authentically and honestly. So in other words, who's going to do this? Somebody has to lead. Watch this. Is that a coincidence? The Aquarius-Leo axis, okay? It's going to be heavily triggered 2021. Now watch this. Okay, I'm trying to... Can you see what I'm trying to do? There is a kind of a mythical, magical person who's seen by some people as this demonic buffoon, and also by some other people is a divinely ordained character who's come to Earth at this time in history as a reincarnation to try and help us redeem ourselves. Well, guess what? He is born with Aquarius on the 7th house. So his 7th house of profound open relationships and open enemies is going to be lit up. For Donald, America is the enemy. His population, his people are the enemy. But he's also deeply married to America. He loves America. So he has to deal with both sides of the American people right now. The American country, our world. The shadow side of it, the flip side, the absence of love, plus the wonders of America. He's born with Leo rising. Okay? Leo ascendant. He's born with Pluto in Leo, Mars in Leo, right on his ascendant. That's freakishly powerful. If you just look at him physically, he looks like an extremely powerful, super hyper Leo. Okay? Is that a coincidence? Is it a coincidence that his Leo ascendant Pluto Mars is sitting right on top of the United States Leo North Node? I don't think it's a coincidence. China is in deep doo-doo. I'm not going to deal with this one today. It's too much. My voice is going to go. Here's another quirk about dear Donald. Love him or hate him. Doesn't matter. He's there. Look at this. Is this a coincidence? He is born with the sun in Gemini. Okay? Almost conjunct Uranus in Gemini. Right on the North Node in Gemini. Is that a coincidence that here we are today with the Gemini North Node heavily emphasized in the heavens right now, heavily hyper stressed right now? Who can handle that? Someone who's perhaps on a parallel journey? Is that a coincidence? Is that a coincidence? I don't think so. Where else are you going to see this on YouTube or in the mass media? You're not going to see this anywhere. I'm just connecting a bunch of dots for you people. I'm saying this is all above and beyond explanation. The only way you can deal with is understand that the concept of reincarnation, the idea that there's this bizarre character who is incarnated to be this incredibly powerful, dominant, almost overbearing Leo type of character that we see, that a lot of people hate, who is deeply married to the Aquarian energy that is happening right now in the heavens. Is that a coincidence? And it happens to just line up with the nodal axis of the United States. None of this is a coincidence. Okay? None of it. This is all happening as though it's been written in a massive storybook. So, it's really like a massive movie, but it isn't a movie. This is happening in real life. Okay? Like Pat said, this is like humanity waking up to itself on a scale never seen before. It's happening on a global scale, and it has to happen in a sort of Shakespearean way in theater. The energy of dark versus light, for example, like Pat was saying. So how do we learn? We learn by immersing ourselves in the energy simultaneously. Just like when Pluto was discovered. The human beings couldn't help themselves. Wow, this is so powerful. Look. We can make a bomb. We can blow up whole cities, half a country. Wow, let's do it, man. On the other hand, let's take that power and let's make some electricity so we can have lights and air conditioning and heating and refrigerators and cell phones. Let's do it. It's the same power. What are you going to do with that power? Pluto's represents power in the extreme power. It's either on, off, in, out, left or right, good, evil, dark, light. It's happening right now. Let me go to another little coincidence for you since we're doing all this stuff. I kind of hinted at it earlier in the show. See this little thing here? Tiny little Pluto? Millions of miles away. It's out there. It's around 23 degrees right now. Watch what happens on planet Earth when it gets to 27 degrees, which you can hardly see on my doodle. When it goes from here to here over the next 4 years, watch what happens. Watch what happens when Pluto moves into Aquarius. Oh my God. Okay? So whatever kind of chaos and miracles we encounter in 2021, that's just an opening for what's going to happen in 2024. So I'm kind of giving you a long-term heads up, okay? Brenda, you've got a point there. There's a lot of people who are starting to see it that way. It's very, very simple, okay? It's really simple. If Trump gets in, we have a chance to moderate things and give a chance for we the people to get some, get the headlines a little bit so we can have some equality and a little bit of salvation, and we can protect and defend the people on earth who actually want this and who love this and care about themselves and their privacy and their rights. So yeah, basically, Brenda, if Trump doesn't make it back into the office, this is gone. It's gone forever. It will just be a sad moment in history. We would have had like 300 years of this beautiful human experiment, and then it all dissolves. It's very difficult to keep this thing going. That's the problem. It's much easier to cheat, steal, and have totalitarianism than have this thing. Having this thing requires everybody to think, everybody to be willing to make decisions. It requires everybody to be willing to basically argue their point, maintain their rights, and defend themselves in their truth and their honesty, rather than have this betrayed. So right now, nobody knows what's going to happen. I personally believe that Mr. Trump actually had a massive landslide in terms of honest votes. But the problem is we're being told through the media that the honest votes are fake and that the fake votes are honest. So what do? Basically, little tiny Donald Trump is massively outnumbered by the globalists, the New World Order, the communists, the Democrats, all the corporatists, all of that. All of those folks represent dark, empty, absence of love. All they care about is control, power, and money. All they want to do is control you, extract your money, your power, keep it for themselves. They're going to farm you. They're going to farm you just like they farm cows, pigs, chickens, turkeys, sheep, and fish. They tag you. They control every aspect of your life. I don't want to do that. Nor does Donald Trump. Nor do the supporters of Donald Trump want to do that. So we don't know what's going to happen. I have no idea. By the way, looking further ahead into 2021, Mars is going to be moving into Taurus. Okay? Can you see a problem here? Oh gosh, I'll just point it out. Okay. We're already going to have enough of a problem when Saturn squares off with Uranus. Jupiter squares off with Uranus. That's going to be extreme volatility. We're going to see it mostly, I think, in the banking system and the world financial systems, to do with the development of digital currencies, cryptocurrencies, and currency wars. Taurus is the sign of money, hard money. Uranus is the planet of disruption, revolution, shaking things up. Taurus represents, in alignment with Capricorn, the status quo. Uranus is shaking up the status quo, just like the Tower card in Tarot. And it's going to keep shaking and rattling for years. Uranus and Taurus, we've got years to go, okay? Uranus takes 7 years to go from here to here. We've got about 2 already. We've got another 4 or 5 years to go. So, I'm just giving you a heads up, all right? This is just my astrodoodles. But mark my words, in 2021, when Saturn faces off with Uranus in Taurus, Jupiter faces off, these red lines are going to get very ugly over here. On an astrological global chart, the second house is all about money. Money, money, money. Okay? So the subject of money is going to become very big in 2021. Digital money, fake money, honest money. CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. Private money like Bitcoin, gold, and so on and so on. Real estate, cash. It's going to be a war between honest money and fake money. It's going to be a war between the maniacal, obsessive globalists, transhumanists, communists, surveillance state, New World Order, and we the people. We the people are just a tiny number of people. Most of us, if I had to, I would wear that hat. I belong to this crowd. And there are billions of people across the rest of Earth who are praying that Donald gets back into office, because if Donald goes down, then America goes down, then the rest of humanity's version of honest money is betrayed and lost, and we're going to all be living under a Chinese communist regime worldwide, okay? So you got to be prepared for this, okay? Okay, Brenda just wrote something here. Some astrologers showed J&K, Joe, and Kamala don't have a chance. Yeah, it's true, they don't. But they do have a chance so long as they are propped up by the elites, the fraudsters. Unquestionable, Trump's chart shows victory, but he's facing incredible odds. I could just do it in this little chart here, you know. Just this little thing over here. Just boil it all down. Like Path was writing, a war between dark and light, good and evil. Okay? Love versus the absence of love. I see this as the absence of love. Call it shadow, call it dark. I see this as very much aligned with humanity, human beings, nature, compassion, and love. Okay? You could break it down very, very simply. You could say Trump America, or watch this. Okay, let's break it in half. It's either this one, okay? It's the Trump America, which might look like old-fashioned white power stuff to you, depending on your views. But I think what they're really concerned about is our Constitution and our Declaration of Independence, our honesty, our freedom, our free markets, our human rights, our privacy, our rights to privacy, our rights to private property. These are my people, okay? Over here, this is America as well. This is also a version of America, but it's America without Trump, and it's no longer the real America anymore. What it actually becomes is China-erica. Okay? So you choose. Pick a side. Pick a side, people. Do you want this or do you want this? Because they're going to be happening simultaneously. They're going to do everything they can to impose this on you. We're not trying to impose this on anybody. We're just trying to save ourselves. And in saving ourselves here in America, we give hope to other countries. This stuff is what keeps me awake. Okay? So like Brenda was like, I don't know what to do. I'm not quite sure. A lot of people, of course, they don't watch my channel. My channel, as you know, is very tiny and it's heavily suppressed, but it's still alive. So it makes me kind of sad in a way, because I think the whole world needs to know about this stuff. I wish I could find a way to present this to more people, but I have been denied that access and I still don't know how to do it, no matter every attempt I've tried. So I hope at least a few of us here understand what I'm talking about, and that I don't see myself as a crackpot. By the time, if you're watching this and you're not aware of any of this, you've never heard of any of this, or you believe this is all nonsense, then you're going to have a very rude awakening. Also, if you're aware, this is still very, very tough. Just because this is beautiful in its own way doesn't mean it's easy. God knows what we're going to do or how we're going to do it. There are a lot of people like myself who are literally asking, what the bleep are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? I'm doing what I can. As an individual, I would say choose your friends wisely. Be prepared to lose friends. Be prepared to lose locations. Be prepared to lose opportunities or certain privileges. If you want to hang on to your rights, your human rights, your ability to be a human being, like a free-range chicken, okay? Or a grass-fed cow. We're all going to die in the end, but I'd rather have a good life. I don't want to be a factory farm pig. I don't want to be a debt cow on a debt farm. I don't want to be a debt chicken on a chicken farm. I don't want any of that. I've had a lot of freedom in my life. I don't want to live it. I don't want to lose it, okay? I know what it's like to be free. I know what it's like to travel all over the place. I've never lived under, well, I have experienced extreme oppression, extreme abuse. I don't want to go into that right now. It's dark and creepy stuff. Creepy, creepy, creepy. But that's what gives me the ability to empathize with all the people who live under oppression and totalitarianism, like these folks over here. If you're born and raised in a slave camp, you don't know anything else. But there's enough people, for example, the people who are starting to wake up in America, it's happening over here. There's enough people in China right now, about 360 million people. That's the population of the United States. There's about 360 million people now in China who've actively, openly declared in public through a charter that they no longer accept or believe the Chinese Communist Party. So they've put their lives in danger. 360 million people are putting their lives at risk by saying, "Uck you to the CCP. Uck you to the Chinese Communist Party." The Chinese Communist Party is the business model for the New World Order, the World Economic Forum, the International Monetary Fund, the United Nations, the Democratic Party, the communism in general. It's the same business model with different packaging. Just like when you buy a car from General Motors, there's probably like Malibus and Trailblazers, but they all come from the same place, So I'm going to leave it at that. I've been talking about it for years. It's the same message over and over again, just presented in different ways. When I do these shows, it helps me to clarify myself because, like, who was it? Melissa was saying? Somebody said, Brenda was saying, like, Brenda's obviously searching out information, but it's hard to make a decision right now. Jupiter and Saturn are literally aligned at 0 degrees in the heavens right now. So it's very strong energy. It's like the energy of a newborn baby. Like, imagine a newborn baby. A newborn baby typically doesn't know what it is. It's just this thing that came out of its mother, and it feels, it's going to start to breathe, it's going to feel pain, it's going to feel joy. One minute it's going to be crying and screaming, the next minute it's giggling and laughing, and it doesn't know what it is. Humanity is sort of at that point right now. We don't know what to do with this energy. We are being rebirthed, reborn into a whole new paradigm. And the birth canal and the labor pains are going to stretch out roughly over the next 4 years. We've already had 1 year, but we've got another 4 years to go. And then when we enter 2024, it's going to be a whole new world. After we've gone through labor pains. The labor pains have already started, but we've got 4 more years. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm just going to stop gibbering right now, and I'll just check in with the chat, see what's up, see what's going on here. Path Traveler is saying, I remember 3 years ago you were warning us this was going to happen, and now it's here. Yes, it's true. Thank you, Pat. Melissa Mostello, the Leo King. Oh, he's that astrologer. I think he's in Las Vegas, and he's very self-confident. All of that. Yeah. Megastar is saying, "Hey TL, you were right way before it all happened. Thank you." David Palmer is the same channel. What? Oh, that is the Leo King, isn't it? He has his own platform. Wow, that's amazing. I know there was a time where the Leo King would sometimes watch my videos. I found out there were some tracers. I'm just looking at the chat here. I'm just hanging out now. I'm basically done. I'm just going to hang out with you guys for a little bit here. So what's going on, people? Melissa, where are you? Oh, Melissa, Megastar. My daughter came to live with me and she saves $2,000 a month. Wow. That is freaking amazing. What's this? I bet I need help. I lost my job and about to be homeless. I have a beat up car that I don't know where I'm going to go. But look up David Palmer, please. It will heal you. It will heal you. When I first started my channel, what was it? Almost 3 years and 9 months ago. 3 years and 8 months ago, I started. I think there was only like a few hundred tarot and astrology channels. Now there's like 20,000 or 100,000. And my channel got destroyed in the end of 2018, and I've not been able to recover it. I've had professional help and everything, but basically all the channel is now is just like a little beacon of light. Yeah. I'm still here because I still like doing this, but the channel and the messages are heavily repressed. I am a victim of the algorithm because that's what happened. So, but I keep going. I'm looking at other ways to communicate and function. I don't know what's going to happen next. I really don't know. I kind of live day by day. There was a time where I did not have this channel, and I was wandering around in daydreams, very, very sick, not knowing what to do. And then I got a message from my invisible friends. Go into that shop. See what they're doing. And in that shop, there was a lady called Laura Day, and she promotes, psychic healing, remote healing, and how to empower yourself through, meditation and all that kind of stuff. And so I went there. It was free, and I did some mediumship with a couple people, and it was very successful. And I kind of went, well, so what? But anyway, I came out of the meeting, and I think the meeting and my invisible friends were telling me that you have to do something with yourself. And so start a YouTube channel. I was already aware of YouTube. I've been watching YouTube for a while, and I watched some of the channels, and it was quite enjoyable, but I never considered myself a YouTuber. It kind of went really, really bizarre just after that meeting about 4 years ago, when, I don't know, have any of you heard of Lada Duncheva? She's one of the big astrologers on YouTube. Lada. Gotta love Lada. Lada Duncheva. Anyway, we used to write back and forth together. This is way before I had a channel. Thank you, Diana. Yeah, so I can remember I was sitting in this sort of mystical meditation place in Los Angeles, in one of these super hip neighborhoods. And we'd been chatting back and forth, and Lada had recently moved to the United States over here, because Lada is from over here. She's like super, super hyper smart. I mean, there are some amazing astrologers out there, but Lada is on a whole other level. And she makes it very presentable because most of her crowd is women, and she focuses mostly on, let's say, the visible planets like Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Sometimes she goes into Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, but she's more concerned with like day-to-day life and what's going to happen next week, next month, and so on. Mostly to do with love, relationships, home, family, health, and things like that. Whereas I tend to be focused on much bigger issues to do with Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And I'm not so good at the details. But anyway, Lada is, this is going to sound really, really strange, but Lada was already, she married her new boyfriend in America, and they had a little kid, and she came down to Los Angeles to visit some family and friends that she had there, and so we arranged to meet. So I had the chance to meet up with Lada Duncheva face to face, so we chose this really nice place, and I got to meet her, she got to meet me, and this was